Get out the insurance cards, get out the co-pays. The office is open, my friends. Brought to you by drroto.com.
Playing from the back, time-tested strategy in international play, but also your spot for previewing the upcoming FIFA World Cup. Today, we've got the lads all here. We're going 4 deep in the box to cover and preview groups E and F. With us, as always, is the skipper of our squad, Mr. Kerry McAllister, Tech Essentialist on Twitter. Kerry, welcome in. How's it going tonight?
Good, guys. Good. We're not that far away. What are we, about 2 weeks from action, huh? 3 weeks. We're getting there. 3 weeks. See, I'm getting ahead of myself.
Easy to do.
Easy to do. Jay, man, how are you doing tonight? You ready for some football?
Hey, ready for some footy over here? Talk a little footy. We've been hitting everything up on Green Screens Media that we can think about. Why not loop back around to some World Cup action, groups E and F tonight? Big time stuff on the agenda. Even a team that I feel like can win this whole thing. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like there's at least one team in these couple of groups that can go the distance. So ready to talk about it, man. This is fun. This is a fun show to do. Let's rock it.
And so we're going to jump right in and start with Group E. This group features Spain, currently ranked number 7 in the world according to FIFA. Best World Cup finish. They took the whole thing home back in 2010. Currently have the 5th shortest odds to win it this year, plus 850. Germany ranked number 11 in the world. They are 4-time champions, 1954, 1974, 90, and 2014, plus 1,000 odds to win it in 2022. That is the 6th favorite. That would make them Japan coming in at 24th in the world. Their best finish is the round of 16 back in 2018. They're currently sitting at plus 25,000 odds, so pretty long odds. And rounding out the group, Costa Rica, number 31 in the world. They made it to the quarters in 2014. That is their deepest run so far, plus 80,000, tied for 31st in the upcoming 2022 FIFA World Cup. So pretty solid group here. Where do you want to start out?
Yeah, I think let's start with this group. And we talked about Group B being the group of death with an average FIFA ranking of 15. Group E is not that far behind, right? It's 18.75 with the claim that it's the group of near death. But let's start with Kerry here, man. Is there anyone that isn't at risk in this group, or is it a free for all?
I think the safest team for me is probably Spain. I think, when you talk about this group, they're the ones that are probably the most well-rounded. Germany's a more recent champ, but they're in a little bit of transition. Some of the players that were supposed to be making this team have been coming up injured. They just they're not quite what they've been in recent years. So I think, and Japan is going to make a fight of it, and I think Costa Rica is good enough to, hang in there. But I think if you're going to pick a safest team, probably Spain.
Yeah, definitely like that Spain call. I mean, it's, they certainly have the safest odds to advance to the knockout stage, but this is also a team that's somewhat in a transition period, right? So, might be lacking a little bit of firepower. Is this something that you see them, kind of addressing? How do you assess their chances in the tournament overall?
Yeah, I think this is different from kind of the previous Spain generation that was just loaded with Barcelona and Real Madrid players. This is kind of a younger team with players that haven't really proven themselves on the big stage. Extremely talented, but I think that, if they can find somebody that can consistently play striker for them and actually be a goal scoring threat, Alvaro Morata he's been decent in tournaments for them. I think he frustrates Spanish fans quite a bit because he's pretty inconsistent. He'll miss the easiest goal chance you've ever seen, and then he'll just score an absolute screamer. And so if he can be consistent, then they can go as far as anybody in this tournament.
I think that when you have a keeper that's played as well for them on the international stage as Simone has, like, they're confident in him. And I think that when you're confident in your keeper, we talk about, the show's called playing from the back, right? And when you're confident in your keeper and it starts back there, I think that sort of immediately makes them feel good moving forward. Like Kerry said, is the firepower there in as there was in years past? Probably not just straight away at the top of their formation, but the midfielders are still an extremely powerful group, and that's where I think the if you're making up for the lack of attack at the very top of their formation, the midfielders are definitely a good place to start for this Spanish club. So yeah, that's they're in position, especially with this group. I know we talk about it being the group of near death. Like it's true in terms of like the average ranking, but I feel like Spain is in a pretty good spot to make it out of this group and then make a little bit of a run, make some noise in this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely like the plus 850. Fifth right now. They are short odds, and I mean, this is a team that I feel like maybe flying a little bit under the radar as far as the heavyweights are concerned. But let's move over to the German side. Obviously, lofty expectations every World Cup. Are they in a similar position to Spain, Kerry, where there's some glaring holes with this squad, or what's your overall feel on the Germans?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think they actually are pretty similar to Spain in terms of they're solid in defense. Their goalkeeping situation's pretty solid. Their midfield depth is great, but they just don't have a solution right now at the striker position. And one of their solutions, Timo Werner, blew out his leg today, and he's going to miss the entire World Cup. And that was probably going to be the guy that was going to start for Germany heading into the tournament. So Kai Havertz might be the guy. He's kind of a converted forward from the midfield. He's struggled to be consistent at Chelsea with scoring. So I think similar to Spain, I think that they just kind of have that glaring hole up front. I just don't know if they have the solutions, unlike Spain, who just kind of have some inconsistent and unproven guys. I don't know if that's exactly what Germany has. So yeah, and plus I think they're kind of a mix. They kind of have, some of the players that they're going to have to lean on are getting up there in age. And so I think some of the key positions, especially in goal, we'll see if Manuel Neuer is the guy in net, but this might be, I think fourth World Cup, I think, for him. So, I think they're a little bit behind Spain in that regard.
All right, Jay, how are you feeling about this German squad? Any feeling the same as Kerry, or maybe a different take?
It's very similar in terms of what we're looking at with what they bring in the midfield firepower. Musiala has really been playing well in the Bundesliga, and it's like when you talk about a guy that maybe could take a step forward, this could be a guy that could really jump out for this German side. Gnabry is always like that's a more household name in soccer circles, where he's just been around for such a long time, but still brings the speed on the outside and can swing the ball in. But it's a very similar sort of a setup for me, similar to Spain, where, what do you do up top? How do you get that consistent play? And it's going to start right in the middle of their formation.
Yeah, I mean, real gut punch to this German squad with the injury they suffered today, but certainly a deep enough group to still make a solid run here at the World Cup. I want to switch gears over to the Japanese side. This Japanese team has become a fixture in the World Cup. It feels like they are, always there in place, but they never really seem like they're quite good enough to take the next step. So Jay, I'll go right back to you. Is this the year where we see Japan maybe emerge and take a bit of a step forward?
I don't know if they're like final 8 good, but I do really like this Japan squad in this group. When you talk about a style of play, Japan likes to play keep possession, play with a lot of skill. They're not going to overpower you like maybe a German side would. But the Japanese side is always one of the most technically sound teams in the World Cup tournament, and that they just like death by 1,000 paper cuts sort of thing, where they just chip away and chip away and chip away at you until you make that one mistake, and then they make you pay. And that's where I could sort of see this Japanese side making a run, is if a team like Germany can't find a way to get a goal on the board. If they're struggling to score, and Japan just keeps going, chip away, counterattack, boom, 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 diagonal ball. Before you know it, they're a quick team. like I said, they're highly skilled and they can put it in the back of the net with the quickness. I think that they definitely have what it takes to make it out of this group. Make a deep run, I'm not sure, but I'm really, really liking what Japan looks like right now in this tournament.
Yeah, I think I think it's interesting because this, we've mentioned this with some of the African teams in our previous shows about the style of play, and that's one of the fascinating things about this tournament is you see the different styles of play from around the world. Teams like Spain and Germany, even Costa Rica, they're used to playing against big physical opponents. Probably especially Costa Rica with the North American, Central American style of play. Japan's not that, but you're dealing with a smaller player that's going to be quicker, hold possession. Are defenders used to that? Are they used to, marking a player that's going to be quicker and, is better on the ball? Minamino, that's probably going to be the starting striker for Japan. I mean, how are you going to defend him if, all you're concerned about, if you're used to just protecting like aerial balls on a corner or anything like that? So I think they bring a little bit of a different element. And they've shown, as Eric mentioned, like they've been consistently getting to this stage. They go round of 16 out in the group stage, round of 16 out in the group stage. And I think, we'll get to the picks here a little bit. I think if they were in a group that didn't have such top heavy teams like Spain and Germany, I'd feel really confident about this team getting out of the group and going to the knockout rounds. I mean, they're 24th in the world, and I think they're flying a little bit under the radar here.
Under the radar they are. And let's talk about another team that could potentially be flying under the radar, and that's Costa Rica. A lot of experience, but Carrie, is this enough in this group, or is they going to have to pull a miracle here?
I think it's going to take a miracle. I mean, I think for this generation of Costa Rican, this Costa Rican squad, this is probably the farewell tour. I think the run that they went on in 2014, making it deep into the quarterfinals, and losing on penalty kicks. I just don't know if they've got that kind of magic in them. This is a team that had to, kind of scratch and claw their way out of qualification, but anything can happen. Again, this is one of those things. If they were in a different group, maybe, but I don't know if they're going to be able to get past, if we assume Spain is a lock, what does Germany and Japan need to, not do in order for Costa Rica to give it a shot? So, yeah, I think this is probably the end of the road for Costa Rica.
Totally agree. It's one of those situations where a lot is going to have to just fall in their lap, like just a bunch of draws, and then something happens where they nick a goal and, here or there. And I just think that this is way too talented of a group for a side like Costa Rica to make it out. Crazy things have happened, but for me, it's going to take too much for Costa Rica to make it out of this group.
So you mentioned, Jay, them needing some draws in this group. Why don't we take a look at the first four matchups for Group E? Play starts here on the 23rd. We've got Germany and Japan opening us up, Spain and Costa Rica rolling forward on to the 27th, Japan and Costa Rica, Spain and Germany. So, Jay, right back to you. Any of these matchups in particular where a betting line kind of jumps off the play as an interesting bet?
Yeah, not very often do I see a line and think that that's a big number, but it's something that I feel like is an actual, like, I would have bought into it at a lot cheaper, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Japan to outright beat Germany in the first match of this tournament, plus 650. That's, to me, you catch them by surprise. Again, Germany, with the uncertainty that's going on with this German side right now, Japan goes out again. You just death by 1,000 paper cuts. You get the ball down the field just one time is all it's going to take, maybe, to beat this German side if they don't have their firepower up front fixed. I like Japan to start this group off, shock this group a little bit, shake it up. Japan plus 650 in that first matchup over Germany. I'm really loving that a lot.
Man, love those long odds too, plus 650. And I like the story that you're telling, right? Germany is still reeling from a big injury. There might be an adjustment to the style of play that Japan rolls out there, very much so tactician. So like those long odds, like you swinging for the fences from the get-go.
Let's
Carrie,
go.
let's look at the other 3 games here that open up this group stage play. Any of them jump off to you as ones where you might want to place a wager or two?
Yeah, this isn't going to be anywhere near Jay's pick here, but I like Spain getting the win over Germany at the plus 155. I clearly I like Spain to win this group, and I think there's a consensus that Germany's going to struggle in this group, and I think second group match, this is a chance for Spain to build off of their first match against Costa Rica, really take the steering wheel in this group and set themselves up to maybe not coast into the last group game, but at least be feeling pretty good. So yeah, I like them to get that win over Germany on the 27th.
All right, yeah, definitely like both of those picks. Definitely that one that Jay just threw out there, right? It's got me salivating. Maybe a Benjamin Franklin on that one. So I'll split it with you. But let's move on here. Okay, let's start with you, man. Give us a player to watch in this group as a sleeper candidate or someone that can kind of just break out in the group stage. Who do you think that person would be?
Yeah, I think I think talking about Spain and their striker situation, I know Morata's gotten a lot of the run starting there, but I really like Ferran Torres from Barcelona. He's a guy that he's played in the midfield. He can play striker. He can, I think he's going to bring that kind of, it might not be like a, Fernando Torres-esque type striker play, but I think he's going to make an impact for Spain in this tournament. I think this will be kind of his breakout, maybe not a full household name quite yet, but something where he'll get a lot of attention. So,
I don't mind that. Jay, you got someone in this group that maybe the world's sleeping on?
God, wouldn't Spain kill for some Fernando Torres action right about now? I'm thinking,
exactly.
Yeah. All right. So I think sticking with my theme with the Japanese side, I'm going to go with Takefusa Kubo, the midfielder there. He's going to be a really big key for me. Whether or not he scores goals, it's just going to be his impact on the game. And you'll see that right away on November 23rd in that game against Germany. Just an impact type of a player. When you think about a guy, even if in soccer, it's really easy to look at a score sheet and say, well, who impacted the game? But if you're watching this match and you're trying to figure out, man, I see that same guy over and over again. Who is it? It's going to be Kubo. I think he's going to make a difference. I think he will score a couple of goals in this group. And it's going to be a matter of if Japan can capitalize on that, keep a lead, will determine whether or not this is a side that can advance out of this group. But I'm going to go with Takefusa Kubo as my sort of sleeper breakout type player in Group E.
He's a Barcelona Youth Academy kid too. So
yeah.
He's familiar with the Spanish style.
Definitely.
We got Torres and Kubo down as our names to watch. Let's button up this group and we will plant our flags. Jay, I'll go to you first. Sounds like you, based on your pick of Kubo, based on your underdog pick in that Germany game, sounds like you might have a bit of an upset in store for us. Which 2 teams do you think make it to the knockout stage from Group E?
Yeah, for me, it's Spain and Japan. Like, I think Germany is going to struggle with an identity crisis heading into this tournament, just not knowing who's going to be the guy that's going to lead them, that's going to lead that attack. And I think Japan takes advantage of that early on. I think Japan beats Germany in that first match. They handle Costa Rica in their second match. And then their match against Spain is much more of those are 2 teams that are both sitting on 6 points by the time that they play. And the group is pretty much decided. I think that this is sitting pretty well. This is setting up pretty well for Japan to make it out of this group, at least in my eyes. So I'm going to go Germany to finish number 1 in this group, and then Japan to finish second.
Germany.
There you have it.
What did I say?
You said Germany top. You meant Spain.
I did mean. Oh,
there we go. See?
And there's that.
You sure you don't want to speak Germany?
Is that a Freudian slip?
Maybe the Freudian slip.
My last name being Heinrich and all. Is this?
I'm canceling my bet slip right now on that plus 650.
See?
No, stop. Spain finished 1 in the group, followed by Japan. Make the bet. Do what you got to do, Mike.
Bet slip
Spain and
back
Japan.
in.
Yeah, there we go.
We'll say it loud and proud. Spain and Japan coming out of Group E for J. Kerry, are you in agreement, or do you have a bit of a different view?
I agree on Spain finishing top of the group. Is as much as I think Germany, they have some holes. They're going to have to figure some things out. I just think they're too deep. I think they have a way of kind of figuring these things out. Are they going to go far in the tournament? They might not, but I think they've got enough depth and experience to navigate this group. I think Spain wins the group comfortably, and I think Germany edges out Japan to go through.
All right.
I think it'll be a close one, though. I think it'll be a close finish there for the second spot.
Difference of opinion on the second spot for those of you that are checking in on YouTube. Scroll on over and hit those like and subscribe buttons and let us know in the comments, what two teams do you like to advance out of Group E? Since we have a difference of opinion, I'll ask the follow-up question a little bit differently. Of the two teams that each of you selected, who do you think can make the deepest run? Kerry, I'll go right back to you, having selected Spain and Germany.
Yeah, I think Spain, as we'll see with the next group that we cover, I think they're going to have, playing the second place team in Group F. I think they're going to have an easier path to the last 8. If Germany finishes second, they're going to have a pretty tough matchup in the round of 16. So I like Spain to advance. If something crazy happens in Group F, maybe Germany has a spot, a chance to go a little bit further. But yeah, I think Spain can go. Spain can go.
Now, I'm not really confident that, in spite of my recent love affair with the Japanese club here, I honestly don't think that any team that comes out of this group is going to make a really big run in this tournament, because I really like the two teams that I feel like are going to come out of the next group. So, I mean, I feel like both of these, whoever comes out of Group E, I think it's a short lived run in this tournament. If I had to pick, I'm going to go ahead and I'll say Spain because of their next round matchup. I think they match up the best out of what that matchup I feel like will be. But I don't think either one of them are going to go very far in this tournament.
Well, nice little segue there as we put a bow on Group E. Let's slide on over to the Group F here, and we have Belgium, FIFA ranked second, best World Cup finish, third place in 2018. Current odds plus 1,400, which is 8th right now. Croatia, FIFA ranked 12, best World Cup finish. They were runners-up in 2018. Can they do it again? Current odds are plus 5,000, tied for 11th there. Morocco coming in with a FIFA ranking of 22. Best World Cup finish was the round of 16 back in my birth year of 86, a great year. And their current odds are plus 25,000, which is tied with Canada there for 22nd, which is our last team. FIFA ranking of 41. Best World Cup finish, knocked out of the group stage in that same great year of 1986. So, Eric, how are you feeling about these teams here in Group F?
Yeah, it feels like it's a little bit more of a balanced group, at least on paper. But let's start out with Belgium, right? Ranked second in the world according to FIFA, but surprisingly not second in the overall odds, right? They're 8th shortest odds on the board. So team looks really balanced on paper. I guess the first question I've got for you, Kerry, why the discrepancy there, right? Very high ranked, number 2 in the world, but not exactly a favorite when you look at the betting market.
Yeah, I think it's a respect factor. I think, we've gone on for a number of years now with Belgium having, just incredible talent, depth, and they look fantastic, but when the big moment shows up, they, for lack of a better way to describe it, they choke. And so I think people are wary of fully buying in on Belgium. In a way, it reminds me of the Spanish pre-2010, when kind of it was like incredibly talented, but could they ever break through on the big stage? And then they broke through in a big way, won 2 European championships with a World Cup title wedged right in between those. And now, then they get all the respect. I think Belgium just hasn't crossed that line yet. And so that's my feeling about why, 8th shortest odds. I mean, but the second ranked team in the world, It's not, if you look at the bracket, it doesn't look that crazy for them. So where does it, I think it's about respect.
I mean, look, you put up a choke job in some of the biggest stages and brightest spots in the world, and that reputation will linger. Jay, do you have a similar read on this Belgian team, or do you think there's maybe a little bit more at play here?
I think Kerry was spot on there. I do think it's a respect thing, in spite finishing third place in the last World Cup. I just think that when you look at the other names, I think this could also be those odds makers keep building those new buildings for a reason, and I think that you might want to put some of those more well-known names sort of at the top. Mike and Kerry, for that matter. We run out of Austin, and we often see how the Texas Longhorns football team, those odds are always pushed up a little bit, encouraging people to bet, right? So for that example, I think that we see some of these other sort of name brand teams, clubs, or whatever, sides around the world pushed up a little bit higher than they should, rather than considering the fact that Belgium is playing like they're playing. They did win third in last World Cup. It's definitely an interesting, if you're looking for some value here, like Belgium at plus 1,400. I mean, that I kind of like that quite a bit, actually.
Man, you had to sneak in the old Texas Longhorns here.
Yeah, man, come on.
I'm wired. I can't help it.
All right, let's stick with the Belgium theme here. We have striker Romelu Lukaku sits 10th in odds after tying for second in the last World Cup. He put 4 balls in the back of the net. Looking at his odds here, plus 2,200 feels like a nice value for netting the most goals in this World Cup. So, Kerry, what say you? Is this a shot here that we can take, or passing on this one?
I think so. This almost feels like kind of tying it back to those 8th shortest odds. I wonder if this is just, the odds makers thinking that Belgium's not going to go as far in this tournament as their rankings suggest. If Belgium does get into the last 4 of this tournament, Lukaku's scoring a lot of goals. And I think it's just the way that they operate. He has a proven track record. He's done it at every club, everywhere he's been. He just scores goals. So I think that feels like a pretty good value there. I think that's worth taking a shot on.
That's definitely worth a 20 piece for me. Just throw it on there, because if they make as deep of a run in this tournament as I think they're going to make, like Kerry said, it's going to be because Lukaku is having success in finding the back of the net. So for me, it's definitely worth a look here. Like, we've talked about Messi. In our previous shows, we've talked about some of these guys on much shorter odds to win the Golden Boot. And you got a guy sitting here as the best goal scorer on the number 2 ranked team in FIFA, and that has done it before on a stage like this. It's very, very intriguing to me, and maybe worth a little bit of your wad if you're going to make some bets on this.
Look, your team's got to make a deep run if you want to compete for the Golden Boot. So not mad at that Lukaku call at all. Let's talk about another team that feels like it's kind of flying under the radar here. Finished runner-up in 2018, Croatia, right? This is a team that feels like it's poised to make another deep run, but Jay, I'll go back to you first. If this team is to make a deep run in 2022, what does that look like?
It's the physical play that it's just they wear you down, and not only are they physical, but they can score against anybody. And when they wear you down, and you have to be on your toes all the time against this team, and it's a recipe for success in this type of a tournament, on this type of stage. They've shown that they can do it before. I have a lot of confidence that they can do it again, but for me, it's just a matter of, can you match their physicality for 90 minutes? And if you can't, you're in for a long night.
So it sounds like this Croatian team is a bit of a load, trying to play bully ball out there. Carrie, do you have a similar read on their path to victory? Or do you think they maybe have a trick or two up their sleeve?
Yeah, absolutely. I think they're definitely under the radar. They're ranked 12th, but they've played well recently. They finished second place in the last World Cup. I think because they don't score a lot of goals, they're not flashy. They don't, they have Luka Modric, but he's probably the closest thing to a superstar that they have. But other than that, it's just the classic lunch pail workman-like team, and you only need to win a game 1-0. You don't need to score multiple goals and blow the other team out to advance in this tournament. And they know how to do that. Like Jay mentioned, they'll go to extra time, they'll do whatever it takes, and they'll just wear you down and get out of there 1-0. They lost to France. The better team won in the cup final last time around, but they're definitely going to make life difficult. And I think, as we get a little closer to making the picks here, they could match up with Spain or Japan or Germany in that first knockout round. I think they can definitely make things interesting.
All right, well, let's move on over. Man, it feels like the more we talk about this group, right, it feels like some of these teams just aren't really getting the respect. So it feels like the Moroccan squad is another squad that not a lot of people are talking about. Carrie, we'll start with you. Oh, as Rody is pretty upset about the Moroccan squad.
Rody,
it's been like 10 shows since this guy's made an appearance. So, but Carrie, we'll go with you, man. This Moroccan side, can they play spoiler? Maybe knock out Croatia or Belgium out of this tournament?
Belgium, I think, will be tough, but I think they absolutely can get past Croatia. I almost feel like them and Croatia are right there neck and neck in a way to get this second spot in the group. They're a really good team. They're tough to play against. They have players that have, that play in the biggest leagues around the world. This is kind of like the group of disrespect in a way. And I think Morocco can absolutely put up a fight and make noise in this group. I just don't know if it's going to be against Belgium, but they definitely have the recipe to get out of this group and survive.
I don't see it as being as close of a matchup in the middle of this group. I do think it's Belgium, at the top, but I think Morocco, again, with the style of play, the experience that they have, this is just a tough, rugged group. There's going to be a lot of bruises, a lot of bumps coming out of this one. In spite of the high quality of play, this is going to be a very physical group. Can they make some noise in this group? Yeah, absolutely. And I think they will. I think they're going to actually score some goals, and they're going to give a couple of these. I think they'll give Croatia and Belgium a significant challenge in each of their respective matches. But I don't think that they're the spoiler type in this group.
So closing out this group, the last team we're going to cover here, and stop me if you've heard this one before, bit of a surprise. Canada qualified after finishing first in CONCACAF qualification. It's the country's first World Cup in over 35 years. So feels like they're kind of the Cinderella of the group. They should be the longest shot, but Vegas Insider has them with the same odds as this Moroccan squad. So, Jay, I'll go right back to you. Do you have a similar read here? Do you think that these last two teams that we've talked on here in Group F are essentially kind of equally long shots to make their way out of the group, or do you think there's a bit of space between the Moroccans and the Canadians?
No, I don't think there's a huge gap. In spite of the FIFA rankings here, I don't think that there's a huge gap in terms of what you'll see in terms of the quality of play. Canada was extremely, extremely solid in qualifying in terms of not allowing goals. And that's, in order for them to be successful, they're going to have to keep clean sheets because they're not, they showed that they can score a little bit in CONCACAF qualifying as well. But I think with the firepower in this group and the way that this group's put together, I do think that they're going to have to just have clean sheets across the board and then nick one here or there to try to get a few points. I don't think there's as large of a separation, I guess, not as big of a gap between Canada and Morocco and the top two teams in Belgium and Croatia in this group. I just think that when we look at the overall quality on each one of these teams, I just don't think Canada will have enough to advance, but they're going to make it extremely interesting.
Kerry, what are your thoughts on this Canadian team? Do you have a different read, or what are you feeling about these guys?
I mean, to stick with the theme, I mean, I think there is some disrespect in their ranking. They finished top of, North, Central, and Caribbean, North American, Central American, and Caribbean qualifying. I mean, but I'm disrespecting them now by not thinking that that they're going to put up too much of a fight in this group. I mean, they're going to put up a fight, but I think Morocco has a little bit more depth. I think their players play as a whole probably at a bit more of a higher level, in a little more experience at the higher level. Canada has a starting player that would probably start for Belgium if he played for that team. Alphonso Davies is that good. Jonathan David is a scorching hot striker right now in the French league, and he's been doing that for a few years now, and he's still 21, 22. They have really good players, but the rest of the lineup for me just doesn't do it enough to where I say, they're going to put up a fight and, be close to getting out of this group. I just think Morocco has the edge on them there.
Would you say, Kerry, that it's sort of like when you think of like a team that sort of just put together and just sort of does, like, in order for Canada to be successful, for me, it's sort of like they just do the things right, and they're cohesive, I guess. If nothing else, they play a cohesive style, which can lead to success in these tournaments. But when you have as much talent, when you're going up against as much talent as they will be, that for me is the separator. They'll play. They're not going to be sloppy, right? Like, they're not going to be a sloppy side. It's just going to be a matter of, okay, can you overcome this? Like you said, a couple of names there with Davies and David. Like, there's not much star power, but there's a bunch of guys, Kerry, that I think just sort of play well together.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a bit of that. A lot of these guys have played together at various levels, through their club careers. A lot of them are current and former MLS players, that have played. Alphonso Davies was a former MLS player. They do have that familiarity. So that's a good point. And that's why, I say all this, but at this point, pick against them at your own peril. I mean, the finish ahead of Mexico and the United States and, these other, Costa Rica, these other teams that are in the World Cup that have higher rankings, they're getting the love and the respect. And I know Canada hasn't been on this stage in a long time, since '86. That's only their second World Cup appearance. I mean, that's what it's kind of, you look at it on paper and you don't think they're going to, do very much, but they just keep surprising people. So, it's a head versus heart kind of thing. And I think the head tells me that there's just too much quality at the top of this group, but the heart kind of says maybe they do carry that Cinderella story over a little bit into Qatar. Who knows? It'll be, they're going to make it entertaining. At least they're not afraid of anybody.
Right.
Well, that sounds pretty enticing when we start to get into the into the betting market here with the game by game. So let's talk about that. First four matchups here, we've got Belgium and Canada, Morocco, Croatia on November 23rd, followed by Belgium and Morocco and Croatia and Canada on November 27th. So, Kerry, let's start with you. Is there a match here that you're liking the betting market on, and where do I put my money?
I'm looking at that Morocco-Croatia opener on the 23rd. To me, that feels like a draw. That feels like both teams kind of feeling out the group to open it up, knowing that Belgium's playing on the other side against Canada. They don't want to risk too much trying to go for it and potentially get too far behind the 8-ball. That one just feels like a draw to me. I like the plus 225.
All right, definitely don't mind that. Jay, you have any sauce like the last group here, or are you going a little safer this pick?
I'm going to go a little bit safer on this one. I really like how Croatia matches up against Canada here. I'm going to take Croatia to win that one. Minus 130. It's probably. I mean, we've looked, and out of all the odds that we've discussed here, it's the least juice, I think, out of some of these picks that we've made. But I just feel like with the style of play, by the time, Canada is going to have to go through Belgium first, and then by the time they hit Croatia, they may be a little, banged up, licking their wounds, and I think Croatia takes advantage there. Minus 130, bet a little more to win a little more, but I like Croatia to win that one outright against Canada on the 27th.
I am eternally disappointed that you're not dropping another banger here in this first round for Group F, but can certainly understand why you might want to go with a couple of favorites on your card after taking a plus 650 dog in Group E. So I think I've got a better read on where both of you stand for this group, but let's make it official. Let's plant that flag in the ground. Carrie, I'll start with you this time. Which two teams do you have making their way into the knockout round from Group F?
Yeah, it's going to be chalk for me. I mean, I like Belgium and Croatia.
I can't argue with
Following
that.
the chalk lines there.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah. No, I can't argue with that. It's just too much at the top. These are, in terms of, again, I'll say this again. In terms of this, how these teams play together, this will actually be, again, I think I mentioned in one of our previous shows, when you want to sit somebody down and sort of introduce them to some quality football, like this is a group with some matches in it that you're going to say, okay, like this is hard-nosed stuff. They're physical, they get after it, technically sound, play well together as a team. That's what you're going to get out of this group. I just don't see either one of those underdogs coming out over Belgium or Croatia. I'm going chalk as well with Group F.
All right, so I'll ask each of you about one of those two teams. Jay, I'll come right back to you with the Croatians making their way out of Group F. How deep of a run do you think they can make in 2022?
Like I said before, I think that both of the teams coming out of this group will find success against the teams coming out of Group E. So I do think that Croatia can at least make it through the first round after the group stages. It's going to be tough after that, but I'm going to go with Belgium here. I think Belgium is, in spite of that sort of, I don't know why this team feels like an underdog because of their odds, and they shouldn't be. Like, this is just way too talented of a team to be, if you want to talk about the disrespect card, like a team that finished third place last year, and that's not even taken in consideration, not last year, last tournament, I should say. Croatia finishing runner-up. These are two teams that have done it recently, have played at this high level before, and I just think, though, Belgium is just playing too strong, too much firepower. I like Belgium to make the deepest run out of this group.
Gary, Jay's got the Croatians winning a game when we get into the knockout round. He's got Belgium making a bit of a deeper run. Do you have a similar read? If so, how deep a run do you think this Belgian squad can make?
Yeah, I think I like Belgium against Germany in the round of 16, given what we discussed with the last group. We'll have to save it for next show, but I think they run up against a certain superstar in the round of 8 that may or may not spell the end of their run in this tournament. I think they have all the ingredients. I just don't know if they're going to be able to put it together. I think the pressure is going to be on them. I think they know this is kind of their last run at it. So I like them at least going one more. Croatia, I think, they'll match up with Spain in the round of 16. And this could be another disrespect type thing for Croatia where people are going to go, oh, okay, Spain, ring them up, send them on to the round of 8. They're going to beat Croatia. It'll be a clash of styles. I don't know if Croatia can make, another run that deep into this tournament. So I think I'm going to go Spain in that matchup to advance to the round of 8. And that's about how far I have Spain going. So the teams that they will match up with, we'll talk about next week.
Yeah, so that tees us up perfectly. That will do it for the Group E and Group F preview for this week's edition of Playing from the Back. We have turned in yet another clean card. If you have not already, get over to drroto.com. That is where you will find all of our written work, but specifically incredibly detailed written work about the upcoming World Cup from none other than Mr. Kerry McAllister. So get over to drroto.com, get yourself subscribed, and let's get this bread.
Thanks for stopping by the office. Get your fantasy prescription by subscribing to the channel and checking out drroto.com. And until the next visit, be well and take care.